And I keep thinking, where's my sandwich? What is up everyone, Movie back again with another review, and today I'm going to be carrying on my MCU reviews with Iron Man 3, and this is directed by Shane Black and stars Robert Downey Jr, Gwyneth Paltrow, Guy Pearce and Don Cheadle. Now I do talk spoilers in these cinema revisited episodes, so that is your heads up right there. Now this tells the story of Tony Stark, who is suffering from PTSD after the Battle of New York, and things are made even worse when a terrorist called the Mandarin tears his life apart. Now I remember not loving this film too much. I just remember at the end all these Iron Man MK insert number suits here just going crazy at the end, and I wasn't really into all that, but I can announce right now on rewatch my mind has fully changed because I had so much fun with this film. First off, what a song that is, Blue by Eiffel 65, just introducing the Iron Man 3 logo. I mean, it shouldn't even fit, but it just does. And this is up there with Spider-Man Homecoming for the best intro by Marvel, for me for sure. Now this all opens from a party years before Tony Stark has become Iron Man, and he ignores a guy called Adric Killian, played by Guy Pearce. And he doesn't only ignore him, he tells him to go and wait on the roof and he'll be up in 5 minutes, and he doesn't, he just leaves him there all night. And I remember thinking Tony was a complete arsehole here, but I do believe the events of Iron Man 1 changed Tony as a character, but some people never forget. And even though I was never convinced Killian was actually going to throw himself off that roof, the movie goes with it anyway. Also, why does Happy dress like Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction at this point? And when we fast forward to present day, we do notice that Iron Man 3 takes place at Christmas time, when Tony is in that small town of Tennessee with all the Christmas lights around him and stuff. Halfway through the film, I did think it made for a nice little change up, really. I mean, the holidays don't come into the film too much, but it was just nice, you know, to have an MCU film take place around this time, I suppose. Now, the biggest positive for me of this film was, in fact, the comedy. I mean, Marvel just gets it so right so many times, but here, they are just on a different level. I mean, this is by far the funniest Marvel movie I've watched on my rewatches up to now. Tony Stark is just absolutely hilarious in this film. I mean, he is just at the top of his game here. I know he has been Iron Man before in a couple of other movies, but he's just made this character his own by now. He really is absolutely brilliant in this film, especially with all his comedic lines. Some of these moments, as you can imagine, just involve Tony Stark being an absolute smart-ass. I mean, when he said to that kid, "Where's my sandwich?" I was on the floor in hysterics. I had to rewind the movie about 5 times to rewatch it, just because I was laughing so much. The moment where Adrian Killian has got a gun to his head and he says, "What do you think of that?" You know, talking about his plan and stuff, and he goes, "I'm still trying to figure out what happened to the first mouse." It just makes the whole film a borderline comedy, but it just worked for me. However, on the flip side of things, we do see a little twist to his usual persona, because he is suffering from PTSD after the Avengers film, and him and Pepper are in true love here. I mean, he loves this woman more than anything by now, and he is worried about what happens to it if he wasn't here, because he's suffering from so many anxiety attacks. He's worrying all the time, even though he really doesn't want to be. He can't sleep, and it all tries to link it in together, and I don't think it fully gets it across, but for me, I sort of noticed where they were trying to go with it. And it is good to see his relationship with Pepper by this point. They have grown together so well, and I really like both of them as a couple in Iron Man 3. There's also some great explosive scenes in this movie as well, with Tony Stark's house coming under attack. I mean, I felt kind of bad for the guy when it blew up, because that's his home, but it could have been done 5 minutes earlier. But of course, it's a Hollywood movie and they wait for Tony to get out before it gets blown up. The amount of opportunities these bad guys had to do that and they just didn't. I can live with it. I can put it to one side. There's also a moment where Iron Man saves all these people from a fallen Air Force One jet. I mean, they're all falling through mid-air, and he's trying to attach them all together and get them to grip onto each other and just save them all one by one. And it's all happening in mid-air, and it's kind of amazing to watch. I mean, the fact that Tony is doing this by control from his own home as well, using one of the suits, just made it hard to comprehend, but also really, really funny. But it just screamed superhero to me, and This is what Iron Man 2 needed. Iron Man 3 has a lot more of that. It feels much more like an Iron Man movie, but this scene was absolutely fantastic to see. Now, even the ending scene worked for me here, because first time around I was like, oh, there's too many MK suits, really. But I can see what Tony was trying to achieve here. He is trying to do this for the better and make him have control of all these suits, because it just gives him more power and more chances to save humanity if he ever has to. So I can see what he was doing here. As a person, he always pushes himself to be better. And there's also a great scene here as well where Tony just looks over the rail and ducks down, and Don Cheadle's character, Captain Rhodes, says, "What did you see?" And he goes, "I know, I looked too fast." It's another funny scene. It was also great to see Pepper kick some ass as well. Now, when she fell at the end, I didn't really fear that she was dead, but I do wonder what happened to some of these powers that she inherited after this movie. Now, let's just talk about the villains in this film. Agent Killian, played by Guy Pearce, was fine, I thought. I mean, he's usually puts a good performance in 90% of the time anyway, but it was more the writing for his character that let him down a little bit. I mean, at the start of the movie, he's this goofy, nerdy character who's just bouncing around everywhere and being really annoying. And then he suddenly morphs into this pristine-looking guy with slick back hair who just knows exactly what he's doing in life, where he's going, and he's really, really smart. And it was just opposite ends of the spectrum for him, really. Why? Just because Tony Stark left him on a roof? Would that really change you that much? I don't know, but as a villain, he's pretty decent. I mean, the way he just shoots Rebecca Hall's character, Maya, there, no fucks given. The big problem people seem to have with this movie, though, is the Mandarin, played by Ben Kingsley, because he is really this total menace halfway through the film. And in the second half, we find out that he's just this actor who is being paid to say what he's saying and doesn't quite know the consequences of his actions. And it's a bit of hit and miss for some people. Some people have mixed views on it. They don't like the way Marvel done that. But for me, I thought it was quite funny, actually. I mean, seeing this guy just cheer when his team scores and he's meant to be this absolute, deadly terrorist. It was just really funny to watch, I thought. Ben Kingsley puts a really funny performance in. It's a risky move by Marvel, but for me, it kind of worked. I also really like Jarvis in this movie as well. What a great little intelligence system he is. And obviously we know him as Vision now, don't we? But it's just good to see Paul Bettany's character progress through these movies. When you go back and rewatch them, I mean, I've just finished WandaVision not long ago and stuff. So when you go back and see them build this character up, because he becomes much more involved as the franchise goes on, you knew what they had in store for him early days. And he's kind of like Tony's best friend. And I really like that about Iron Man 3. There's also a little bonding session as well between Tony and this little kid. And, that was kind of reminding me of Iron Man 1, where Tony needed this kid to help him with his suit, where he needed the doctor in the cave. That was kind of, echoing them scenes there. And it all takes place in that little Minnesota town. And I thought this was a really good change up from the big cities and stuff. But what I really liked about this bonding that these two characters had was at the end, the kid walks into his workshop and it's all been done up by Tony. And his eyes light up. And Tony didn't forget him. And it just shows you how good of a character Stark actually is. Now, one thing that didn't really work for me, and it's a small niggle, was when the Iron Patriot boards Air Force One. Of course, Guy Pearce is in the suit instead of Don Cheadle. And would he really have been allowed on that plane? I mean, we all know what happens afterwards. I spoke about it before, where Iron Man's got to save everyone. Would they have not asked him just to remove his mask, just for a bit of identification? I mean, it's hard enough to get on a normal aeroplane, but to get on Air Force One, the most secure jet in the whole world, and he doesn't have to reveal who's in the suit. Really? I think that one could have been a little bit better thought out. There's also a moment later on where Don Cheadle is just knocked out unconscious by someone pushing him. Yeah, the Iron Patriot there, knocked out by a push. Really? Now, to be honest though, I just had so much fun with this movie throughout it. I mean, I was so entertained. I found it so funny. Me and my fiance were still bringing up little quotes and stuff from Robert Downey Jr. days later. We just absolutely loved it. And there's so many great action scenes as well. It's just a really good Iron Man movie. It's way levels above Iron Man 2 for me. And so far on my rewatches, one of my favourite MCU films. I'm just going to go ahead and rate this movie now. I'm going to give Iron Man 3 an 8 out of 10. Not quite the overall better movie compared to The Avengers, but such a fun time. Now, at the end of these reviews, I always like to leave a little fun fact. Now, a fun fact for Iron Man 3 is that this is the first Iron Man movie to gross over 1 billion and the second in the MCU franchise after Avengers Assemble. Okay guys, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Next up we do have Thor: The Dark World, and if you want to check out any of my MCU reviews, the playlist will be down below. And if you want to subscribe, it's up to yourself. We've got a lot more reviews coming, lots more videos, and if you want to comment about Iron Man 3 or the MCU in general, leave it down below. I'll try and get back to every single one of you, I promise. Take it all easy guys. I'll see you all in the next video.